I stood in the wind, feeling the chill cut through the layers of my coat, and watched as the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting long shadows across the barren land. It had been days since I last saw her, but the memory of that face, the green eyes that seemed to see straight through me, kept haunting me. Maggie, I hadn't planned on falling for her. No one ever does, right? It's supposed to be about survival out here, out on the frontier. Men like Maruff and scarred from years of work under the sun, always keeping our guard up, don't fall in love. But that was before Maggie O'Connor rode into town. Her eyes like the summer grass after a good rain. So full of life and secrets, she wasn't like the women around here women, whose lives had been weathered and shaped by the dust and the struggle. No, Maggie had come from somewhere else. Somewhere different. Somewhere with promises of a better life. And when she looked at me, it wasn't with pity or interest in my wealth. It was with something far deeper. Something dangerous. I remember the first time I saw her. I had just finished a long day of cattle work and was headed to the saloon to forget the weight of another long week. But as soon as I stepped inside, there she was. She wasn't looking for trouble, but trouble found her just the same. Her beauty caught the attention of every man in the room. And though I should have turned and walked away, I didn't. I couldn't. Her eyes met mine. For a second, it felt like the world stopped moving. I wanted to ask her name, but my throat tightened, as if speaking would shatter the illusion. Instead, I watched her as she sat at the bar, a soft smile on her lips, as though she was already in on some joke I wasn't privy to. That smile, that damnable smile, followed me for days, but it wasn't until she came to my ranch that everything changed. I hadn't been expecting company. The Triple Bar had always been quiet, too quiet. It was just me, my horses, and a few good men who worked the land. But Maggie, with her soft words and her sweet laugh, had turned everything upside down. When she told me she needed a job, I should have said no. I should have seen the warning signs that came with a woman who walked into a stranger's life without a second thought, but I didn't. She arrived one cold November morning, her suitcase clutched tightly in her hands as she stepped off the wagon. I remember the way the wind played with her dark hair, tossing it around her face as she stood there like a vision. She didn't look scared. Not one bit. If anything, she seemed perfectly at home, like she was meant to be standing there. And that, in itself, scared me. She walked into my house like she'd been born there. She started in the kitchen, baking bread like she was supposed to be doing it for years. She turned the house into a place of warmth, no longer a cold. Barren ranch with nothing but silence and the occasional scream of cattle. She hummed while she worked, her voice so gentle it made my heart ache. But there was something beneath it all. A stillness, a darkness that clung to her. I could see it in the way she stared out the window at night. Her eyes distant, like she was waiting for something or someone. The past always catches up, doesn't it? I didn't know then, but I do now. And that night, when I found her standing in the kitchen, holding something in her hand, the truth hit me like a bullet. She was no angel. Not even close. Her fingers trembled as she held the small bottle, its contents glimmering in the light of the oil lamp. I didn't need to ask what it was. The familiar shape, the brown glass, the faint smell of poison-arsenic, double quotes, Maggie, ... I whispered her name. My voice thick with disbelief. She turned to face me, her expression unreadable. It's not what you think, Jack. I shook my head, the pieces falling into place. Then what is it? Because I can't make sense of this. Her lips trembled before she spoke. And in that moment, I knew I'd never look at her the same again. I never wanted this life. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But sometimes, you do what you have to do to survive. Survive. Those words echoed in my mind, but they meant something different now. She hadn't just survived. She'd taken life. And that thought, the weight of it, was more than I could bear. I wanted to walk away, to turn my back on her and never look back, but I couldn't. Not when I knew she had already buried herself so deep in my heart. The tension in the room was thick. I could barely breathe, my chest tight with a mixture of anger and fear. She wasn't just a woman. She was something darker, something dangerous. and that was the part of her I could never have fully known. Her voice broke the silence, shaky but resolute. He was a monster, Jack. A man who used me for years. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to free myself, and that's what I did. I stepped closer to her, my boots silent on the wooden floor. So you killed him. You killed your husband. She didn't flinch. Yes, I killed him. Her words were a knife in my gut. But what stung the most was the truth in them. The pain, the suffering that had led her to this moment, it all made sense. But it didn't change the fact that she had taken a life. The fact that she had killed for her freedom, I didn't know if I could forgive her. I didn't know if I could live with it, but then, in that instant, I saw it. The vulnerability in her eyes, the same eyes that had once looked at me with such longing, such desire. I saw a woman who had been through hell and come out scarred, but still standing. Maggie, I whispered, my voice barely audible. What are we supposed to do now? Her lips trembled as she stepped toward me. We survived together. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that we could survive, that love could heal what had been broken. But the road ahead would be treacherous, filled with dangers I couldn't even begin to imagine. And yet, I found myself pulling her close, the scent of lavender and regret filling my lungs. We'll figure it out, I promised, my voice rough. Somehow, but as the wind howled outside, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, that the worst was yet to come. The air felt different that evening, heavier than usual, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. The storm clouds rolled in from the horizon like dark, ominous waves, slowly swallowing the last light of the day. Maggie stood by the window, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of the oil lamp. She hadn't spoken much since I had found her holding the bottle of arsenic, her confession hanging between us like a blade poised to strike. I leaned against the doorframe, my arms crossed, watching her, watching the storm gather strength. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, as if trying to tear the house apart. But inside, there was a quiet, oppressive tension, one that threatened to suffocate me. I hadn't known what to do after Maggie's confession. Part of me wanted to run to leave this ranch and everything about it behind. But then, there was her standing there with her back to me. The woman I thought I had known, yet who was now a stranger to me. Her voice was trembling when she finally spoke. Jack, I never meant for you to find out like this. The softness of her voice made the raw truth of her words cut deeper. I should have hated her for what she had done. She had killed her husband, a man I had never met, but could only imagine the torment he must have caused her. But the truth was, I didn't hate her. I didn't know how to hate her. You should have told me sooner. Maggie, I said, my voice low, hoarse, as if the weight of her secret had stolen my strength. I don't know what to believe anymore. She turned, her eyes searching mine, and in that moment, I saw something that made my heart falter. There was fear in her gaze, not fear for herself, but for me, for what I might think, what I might do, now that I knew the truth. I never wanted this life, she whispered, her voice breaking. But I've been living in the shadows of my past for so long, Jack, and now I don't know how to leave it behind. I couldn't speak for a moment. The storm outside intensified, its fury shaking the very foundation of the house. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her that everything would be all right. But I didn't know if that was true. A knock at the door broke the stillness. It was a hard, sharp knock, urgent, demanding attention. I looked toward Maggie, whose face had gone pale. She stepped back instinctively, her hand gripping the side of the table as if seeking refuge from whatever was coming. I moved toward the door, my hand hovering over the handle. The storm outside was nothing compared to what was about to come. I could feel it in my gut. A feeling I'd learned to trust in this life, one that always preceded danger. When I opened the door, I was greeted by the sight of a man standing in the rain, drenched to the bone. He was tall, with a dark hat pulled low over his face, but I knew immediately who he was. Jack Mackenzie. His voice was rough, like gravel being ground beneath a boot. I nodded, stepping back slightly to let him inside. What do you want? He didn't answer right away. Instead, his eyes shifted past me to where Maggie stood frozen by the window. Her face had gone ashen, and she looked as though she were seeing a ghost. "I'm looking for someone," the man said, his gaze still on Maggie. "Someone who's been hiding out here. Someone with a past." I could feel Maggie stiffen behind me, the tension in her body more than palpable. "What past?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My hand instinctively hovered near my gun belt, though I wasn't sure whether it was fear or instinct that made me reach for it. The man stepped into the room, his boots leaving dark, wet marks on the wooden floor. A past that's come back to haunt her. A past that's going to catch up with her whether she likes it or not. Maggie's breath hitched. "Who are you?" Her voice cracked, but she stood tall, trying to mask her fear with defiance. "My name's Cooper," the man said, "and I've been sent to bring her in." "For murder?" A silence fell over the room, the storm outside roaring in the background, but none of us spoke. Maggie's face drained of color, and I could see the battle in her eyes, the fear, the shame, the terror that had plagued her for so long. I turned to her, my heart pounding. "What is he talking about, Maggie?" I asked quietly, though I already knew the answer. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down, her hands trembling as she clasped them together. "I didn't want to tell you," she whispered. "I didn't want to drag you into this mess, but I couldn't keep running anymore." She took a deep breath. "Cooper's right. I killed him. My husband. I killed him." I stepped toward her, my hand reaching for hers, but she pulled back. Her eyes locked on the man standing by the door. "He's here to take me back, Jack," she said, her voice barely audible. "Back to face the consequences of what I did. I knew this day would come. I just didn't know it would come so soon." The room felt colder now, the weight of her confession hanging between us. But as much as I wanted to be angry, as much as I wanted to hate her for the secrets she had kept from me, I couldn't, because I understood. I understood the pain of living with a past you couldn't outrun. Cooper shifted, clearly growing impatient. "You're not going anywhere," he said, his voice cold and final. "You killed a man, Maggie, and you're going to pay for it." I stepped forward. Putting myself between them, my jaw clenched. "I won't let you take her," I said, my voice low but filled with conviction. Cooper's eyes narrowed, and he stepped toward me, the rain still pouring outside. "You can try, Mackenzie, but I'm not here to play games." For a moment, neither of us moved. The tension between us was like a live wire, crackling with unspoken threats. But Maggie's voice broke through the silence. "Please, Jack," she whispered, her eyes pleading. "Don't make this harder than it already is." The wind outside picked up, howling as though in response to her words. I turned to her, seeing the vulnerability in her eyes. She wasn't just asking for mercy from Cooper. She was asking me to understand, to see her for who she was, not just for the mistakes of her past. I knew, in that moment, that I had a choice to make. I could let her go, let her face whatever was coming for her, or I could fight for her, fight for us. I looked back at Cooper, then back at Maggie. My decision was made. "You're not taking her anywhere," I said, my voice hardening. "Not while I'm standing here." The storm outside raged on, but inside, the storm between us was just beginning.